there are not potentially enough police there to manage 8 to 10,000 lorries, if that's the number of people that are waiting to cross the Dover Straits. You know, clearly an escalating situation there.
Hello, sorry, do I want to look at my...
When Sir Keir Starmer came to office, he promised to smash the gangs to end these illegal crossings.
Get it, men! Here we go!
Britain's borders are in chaos. December 31st, 2025. Not from controlled immigration. From an unprecedented surge in illegal small boat arrivals overwhelming the asylum system with dangerous consequences. Over 192,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats since 2018. 192,000 in just over 7 years. And 2025 is shaping up to be the second worst year on record, with over 45,000 arrivals by September, a 53% increase from the previous year. The UK reached the 10,000 mark of illegal migrants crossing the Channel before the end of April 2025, more than a month earlier than the year before. And the cost? Housing asylum seekers in hotels costs taxpayers over £8 million a day, nearly £3 billion a year. But real quick, before we expose how Britain's asylum system has descended into total dysfunction, creating a public safety emergency, let's acknowledge reality. Mainstream media won't tell you that at least 211 people living in asylum hotels have been charged with serious crimes this year alone. That's 68% of small boat arrivals since 2018 have been young, unattached males aged 18-39, or that 708 criminal charges have been linked to asylum seekers in just 50 hotels, and that's only looking at a fraction of the 200+ hotels being used. That's why independent journalism matters. Reason number 1, small boat arrivals have exploded to historic levels with over 45,000 crossing in 2025, representing a 53% surge, while the government admits its smash the gangs promise lies in tatters. In the year ending September 2025, a total of 45,659 migrants arrived illegally on Britain's shores. 45,659. This marked a 53% increase on the previous year. The 10,000 mark was reached before the end of April, a month earlier than 2024. Migration Watch UK warned that 2025 looks to be heading for another record number. Labour's promise to smash the gangs. In the 9 months since the election, 29,162 people illegally crossed the English Channel, a 31% increase on the same period 12 months before. In fact, since January 1st, 2025, more people have crossed the English Channel illegally than in any year in history. This is the worst year, 38% worse than the previous worst year. September 6, 2025. The UK saw its first uncontrolled landing, an unescorted migrant boat reaching British shores since December 2022. No border force interception. Just arrived, walked off, September 27, 2025. A boat carrying 125 illegal migrants arrived in Britain, making it the largest number of migrants to cross in a single vessel since records began. And who's arriving? Over half of small boat arrivals between October 2024 and September 2025 were from just 5 nationalities: Eritrean, 17%, Afghan, 13%, Iranian, 11%, Sudanese, 10%, and Somali, 8%. 68% of all small boat arrivals since 2018, young unattached males, aged between 18 and 39, from countries with vastly different social and cultural norms. Reason number 2. The asylum system has collapsed into total chaos with 111,000 applications in 1 year, an 80,000 person backlog and processing times, stretching years. While the government inherited 400 hotels costing £8 million per day, there were 89,509 asylum applications relating to 110,051 people in the UK in the year to September 2025, a 13% increase from the previous 12 months. 111,000 applications in 1 year. At the end of September 2025, 80,841 people were waiting for an initial decision on their asylum application. 80,000, waiting for months, years, in some cases. The appeals crisis. In the year to March 2025, there were 40,667 appeals against asylum decisions. As of March 31, 2025, there were 50,976 appeals waiting to be heard, a 580% increase on 2 years earlier. 580% increase in 2 years. And while they wait, hotels. As of June 2025, roughly 32,000 asylum seekers are being housed in more than 200 hotels, according to the Home Office. 32,000 people, 200 hotels. The cost? £8 million a day, nearly £3 billion a year. The asylum system is likely to cost over £15 billion over 10 years, according to a May 2025 National Audit Office report. Labour inherited this chaos. At its peak in 2023, there were 56,000 people in more than 400 hotels. 400 hotels, costing almost £9 million a day. The government promises to end hotel use by 2029. But hotel numbers, still 8% higher year on year. Reason number 3. Asylum hotel crime has reached epidemic proportions, with 708 criminal charges, including rape, sexual assault and murder, while at least 211 people housed in hotels have been charged with serious crimes in 2025 alone. A Mail on Sunday investigation uncovered at least 312 asylum seekers facing 708 criminal charges over 3 years, including rape, sexual assault, attacks on emergency workers and theft. 708 charges. And that's only looking at a fraction of the 200-plus asylum hotels. The Telegraph's data confirmed that at least 211 people living in asylum hotels have been charged with serious crimes in 2025 alone. 211, 1 year. Multiple cases of rape, sexual assault, violence, theft and arson. 4 counts of alleged rape, sexual communication with children, failing to appear at trial because they simply walked out. Afghan teenagers Jan Jahanzeb and Isran Niazal were jailed for the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa. Another Afghan national, 23-year-old Ahmad Mulahil, confessed to raping a 12-year-old girl in Nunat. Sudanese small boat migrant Dengchol Majek stabbed to death 27-year-old mother Raifanan Whitey in Walsall. A Sudanese asylum seeker was sentenced to 7 years for strangling and attempting to rape a woman in a Wakefield nightclub toilet. A 20-year-old Oxford student was dragged into a churchyard and raped by a migrant staying at a local hotel. And the case that sparked nationwide protests? Ethiopian small boat migrant Hadush Kibatu sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl while housed in the Bell Hotel in Epping, Essex. He was sentenced to 12 months in prison on September 23rd. Then came the ultimate government failure. October 24th, Kibatu was erroneously released from prison instead of being sent to an immigration detention centre for deportation. Released by mistake, he returned to the prison reception 4 or 5 times, waiting outside for roughly an hour and a half before leaving. Knowing he was supposed to be deported, waiting to be processed. No one came, so he left. Prime Minister Starmer before his arrest. This man was behind bars because of serious sex offences. He is not meant to be in this country. The idea that he's loose on our streets is incredibly serious. He was rearrested 2 days later in Finsbury Park, London, deported to Ethiopia the following week. But the damage was done. Nationwide asylum hotel demonstrations erupted. Reason number 4. The government does not track asylum seeker crimes and refuses to publish immigration status of offenders, creating a complete accountability vacuum. While critics warn the system mirrors grooming gang failures, here's the most damning fact. The UK government does not track or publish crimes by asylum seekers. Does not track, does not publish. Police reports rarely note defendants' immigration status, obscuring the full scope of the problem. So when Parliament demands answers, the government shrugs. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp in July 2025. The Sun found 339 charges in the last 6 months based on only half the hotels currently operated. The Mail on Sunday found 708 charges based on only a third of those hotels. Only half the hotels, only a third, and already 339 charges, 708 charges. Imagine the real total. Legal experts warn that the same duty of care principles that underpin child protection cases could soon apply to the asylum system, particularly where authorities have failed to prevent foreseeable harm in state-funded housing. The grooming gang parallel. Chilling. Between 2001 and 2024, at least 61 offenders were convicted in Rotherham, 41 in Huddersfield, and dozens more across Oxford, Bristol, and Derbyshire. The grooming gang's task force has identified over 4,000 victims and arrested more than 550 suspects since its launch in 2023. Public institutions ignored warnings, failed to share intelligence, downplayed serious offences for fear of political controversy, and now, critics argue the hotel policy has spiraled into a costly, unsafe contingency plan. Hotels weren't meant to be long-term, they were temporary, emergency measures. 3 years later, they're still operating, with no vetting, no tracking, no accountability. Reason number 5. Deportations remain minimal despite government promises, with most removals not relating to small boat arrivals, while asylum seekers exploit appeals to remain for years, creating a revolving door of failure. The government boasts about removals. Almost 50,000 people removed since July 2024, minus a 23% increase. Sounds impressive, but here's the truth. Most of those returns do not relate to people who arrived by small boat. Conservative Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp exposed this in Parliament. Labour are now boasting about arrests, but we know they are too scared to actually deport anyone who arrived illegally. The Deport Now, Appeal Later programme expanded from 8 countries to 23. But under UK law, someone with a pending asylum case cannot be sent back to their home country. That's because the basis of an asylum claim is fear of persecution. So they appeal, and appeal, and appeal. Foreign nationals convicted of a crime would have the right to have their appeals heard in the UK, which could sometimes lead to offenders remaining in the UK for months or even years. From 2015 to 2024, immigration judges granted over 60,000 ECHR appeals against removal from the UK, some of which involved people previously refused asylum. 60,000 appeals granted to stop deportations. As former Home Secretary Jack Straw admitted, no plane to Tehran would try to land there unless that had already been agreed with the government of Iran. You can't deport people to countries that won't take them back. Reason number 6. Illegal working has exploded, with 10,031 raids leading to 130 arrests, while asylum seekers free to come and go from hotels work in the gig economy with minimal consequences for employers, creating a massive underground economy. Between July 20th and 27, 2025, a total of 1,780 individuals were stopped and interrogated over suspected illegal working activity. 1,780. In 1 week, around 280 were arrested in areas including Hillingdon, Dumfries and Birmingham. 89 were detained pending deportation. Another 53 had their asylum support reviewed, which could result in support being suspended. Over the past year, 10,031 illegal working visits, leading to 7,130 arrests, minus a rise of 48% and 51% respectively compared with the year before. During the raids, authorities recovered 71 vehicles, including 58 e-bikes, as well as £8,000 in cash and around £460,000 worth of illicit cigarettes. The target: food delivery drivers. The gig economy, where asylum seekers work while awaiting decisions on claims. The government announced it will share information about asylum hotel locations with food delivery firms in a purported effort to disrupt illegal work hotspots. But here's the problem. Asylum seekers in hotels are free to come and go as they please. They're not detained, not monitored. Free movement to work illegally, with minimal consequences. Reason number 7. Nationwide protests erupted across Britain as communities revolt against asylum hotels in their towns. While the government promises to close hotels by 2029, but numbers remain higher than at the election, creating a political firestorm. July 13, 2025. The first protest took place outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. The hotel was being used to house asylum seekers. Local MPs had called to close it. The Home Office refused. Then came the sexual assault, the arrest, the outrage. July 20th. Around 400 anti-immigration protesters gathered outside a hotel in Bowthorpe, with around 150 counter-protesters. 60 police officers deployed. No arrests. Peaceful, for now. July 26th. Hundreds protested in Waterlooville, opposing plans to house asylum seekers in flats above shops. Over 1,000 people in one town. July 30th. 5 Conservative politicians signed a letter calling for an urgent meeting with the Home Secretary about asylum hotels. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper's response: she agreed with local councils and communities who want the asylum hotels in their communities closed. Prime Minister Starmer: he completely understood residents' concerns, adding that local people by and large do not want these hotels in their towns, so they'll close them. When? By the end of this Parliament, which ends in 2029, 4 years away. Meanwhile, hotel numbers? Still higher than at the time of the election. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage: he hoped protests would inspire similar demonstrations outside migrant hotels across the country to put pressure on local councils. August 2nd. 15 people arrested in London, Manchester and Newcastle following clashes at hotels housing asylum seekers. London, Manchester, Newcastle, Aberdeen, Cannock, Newtown. Across the entire nation, YouGov polling showed immigration and asylum overtook the economy as the most important issues facing the country in June 2025. Here's where Britain stands in December 2025. Over 192,000 migrants crossed the Channel since 2018, over 45,000 in 2025 alone, a 53% increase. 111,000 asylum applications, 80,000 waiting for decisions, 32,000 in hotels, £8 million per day, £15 billion over 10 years, 708 criminal charges, 211 charged with serious crimes in 2025. Rape, sexual assault, murder, 14-year-old victims, 12-year-old victims. Government does not track crimes. Police don't note immigration status. Sex offenders released by mistake. Most deportations not small boat arrivals. 10,000 illegal working raids. Nationwide protests. Labour promised to smash the gangs. Instead, arrivals are up 53%. 2025 is the worst year on record, 38% worse than the previous worst. They promised to end hotel use. Hotel numbers, higher than at the election. They promised faster deportations. Reality, appeals up 580%, 50,000 appeals waiting. That's Britain. 2025, where young males from Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iran, Sudan, and Somalia arrive by the thousands, where 68% are unattached males, aged 18 and 39, where 211 have been charged with serious crimes, where sex offenders are released by mistake, where victims are as young as 12, and government response, promises to close hotels by 2029, raids on food delivery drivers, sharing hotel locations with Uber Eats, while crossings surge another 53% and backlog grows another 580%, until the entire system collapses or British communities revolt entirely. One small boat at a time.